Hello and welcome to a live deprogram with Keri Smith. I'm your host, Keri Smith. Today is Monday, August 11th, and I thank you for being here. We're trying to get back on the regular schedule. I know I took some time off after my surgery, and then this past Friday I took off because we had a house concert to prepare for, and that was great. A couple people from the chat were there. Mr. Robert Lowry and Randy Wallen was there. There were some other folks. We had a fun time. I'm not even finished cleaning up everything yet. But I was like, I'm coming. We're doing the show because today I'm very excited. Live, I have a friend, someone I've met. I haven't met him in person yet. I've met him several times on other channels. He's a really funny guy, and he breaks down the science, what I would call the anatomy of comedy as well. His name is Paul Chato. I know some of you in the chat said you're really excited. You're already a fan of his. You know who he is. He has a varied career that includes being a graphic designer, a desktop publishing guru, Apple consultant, a professional comedian, as I mentioned, head of TV comedy at CBC, a producer, a writer, an actor, a multimedia programmer, game developer, website content management developer, a YouTube personality. And then get this, right before we started, he said he also studied nuclear physics. I'm not kidding. Please welcome Mr. Paul Chato to the stage. Hello.
So are we going to have a good time?
Oh my goodness.
Yes. It says, yes,
good.
We're going to have a good time.
Good. Welcome, Paul.
Well, it's my pleasure to be here. It's a thrill. I saw one comment saying I'm dumb, which they're correct. They must have been talking to my wife ahead of time.
Just one? There's usually several like that about me.
I thought you meant just
my
one
own
wife.
Chat. Oh, just one wife. Just
yes,
one of your wives thinks that.
And I mean it's funny because I not documented, but I followed your deprogramming journey, and I thought that you have a really good story, and you've gone on and kept. You're a very interesting person. I think you're a very fair interlocutor.
Well, thank you very much, sir. And I have followed you. Well, here's when I started really following you. I knew your name was familiar. I had seen you in the chat and other places before, and I think I'd been on a video or two with you. But then YouTube recommended one of your videos to me, and it was the one where you dissected John Oliver.
Oh, yes.
And I think you may have done that more than once, but the one I saw was excellent. It was about him doing a whole segment on transgender athletes. And the thing about your comedy is that well, first of all, you're very funny, but when you do the videos dissecting comedy, you explain it in a way that is both funny and informative. Like you sort of do an anatomy, like some people do an anatomy of a crime, you do an anatomy of a joke.
Well, I mean, it's one of the things that I enjoy doing is trying to make the stuff I do funny and informative at the same time. I mean, on my appalling news channel, I'm dealing with real news constantly, like the WNBA sex toy scandal. And so I had fun with that. And again, in some ways, the more serious something is, and then diving into the details of it and learning about it, actually more than what the mainstream media, they don't go into any kind of detail. But what's funny is going into the detail of something brings up jokes that otherwise no one would really talk about. And then there's different techniques of using sarcasm and adjectives and I mean, this I just like writing. I try to be entertaining to my viewers and informative.
Do you mind if I show a quick clip?
No, I'd be my guest.
Okay. Now this is from that video, how John Oliver. Oh, sorry, it was John Oliver. Yes, John Oliver. How John Oliver uses comedy to lie.
I call it how to lie using comedy. Of course, one person's lie is another person's perspective. I don't lie on my appalling news channel, at least not on purpose. It's funnier that way, but I do use sarcasm and jokes to ridicule. Most of Oliver's humor is derived from setting up easily ridiculed straw men and gets a laugh for the benefit of his target lefty audience. He also throws in self-deprecation to convey that he's not entirely evil. I would love to know why this trans thing is a cause celeb for Oliver. Does he have any trans family or friends? That's usually the case. I think Megan Fox is up to 12 trans children now. Apparently, one of his staff is trans, but I found no evidence for that. I want to assure you that I will not use any similar disingenuous comedy writing techniques to squeeze laughs out at John's expense. Well, maybe just a little. Oliver has a 12-member comedy writing staff, so this presentation only has to be 1/12 as funny. I should mention that I have exactly the same qualifications to discuss this topic as John does, which is none. John started with, "We're actually going to start with our main story this week, and it concerns an absolute fixation of the right, because even as the market crashes in the wake of Trump's tariffs, Fox News spends a lot of time on this." As John's arguments are weak, here we get the focus of his ire, attaching the attack on trans people to the evil Republicans, the conservative assault on the rights of trans athletes, and Fox News.
I'm going to stop right there or pause it right there. It's such funny stuff. And as I said, you are pointing things out. You're not just entertaining, you're informing. When did you decide to start doing this kind of I would say it's a hybrid of a comedy and comedy critique?
Well, I mean, it's always been deep in my soul. With the Back of the Frantics, I was always doing some of the edgier commentary stuff, wanting to talk about current events and things like that, which the other guys didn't want to do. But that was, again, we each had our own thing that we liked to do. And then while I was doing my just working on my channel, I felt that there were things that I was able to comment about that other people were not able to dissect, such as, what is John Oliver doing? Like, what is he? I got tired of what that people thought he was funny, when in fact he was just reusing the same technique over and over and over again, and just being loud.
Yes.
And then there's a thing in comedy: the louder you are, the funnier that you are. I don't know. I just felt that I had something to say that other people didn't have experience in talking about. And then you try to make a joke. I mean, you saw there's actually more laughs in there than I thought, than I remember.
There's a lot of laughs in there, yes. And so this is from your wait a minute. You've got the two channels. This is from Call Me Chato. Then you've got your Appalling News channel. What's the difference between those two channels for people who want to check out?
Call Me Chato, generally speaking, is entertainment related. Jon Stewart in particular is an entertaining figure, and he was talking about an entertaining, although not an entertainment subject. So I'll do reviews. I'll complain about wokeism in Hollywood, although I kind of tailed off on that. Just, talking about the fact that I've been involved in a lot of things like animation, 3D, gaming, things like that, how it was back then, and how things have changed, and how the New World Order seems to hate the people that actually created these original these original IPs.
Mm-hmm.
Some corporation decided to hire these individuals who not only hated the original IPs, but also hated the white men who made these original IPs, and then decided that they were going to somehow change the world and tell the world that we are bad. And we got Gamergate 1 out of it, for example. And I want to get into Gamersgate 1.
I was on the wrong side of the Gamergate 1 wars.
Yeah, I don't want to repeat that. That was a mess. But I mean, the thing to take away from Gamersgate was just how complicit the mainstream media was. And I don't want to use that term because that's now also, been memed out on the right. But, it's one of those things where, how the mainstream media has a schedule. We've got the Halloween show, the Christmas show. Oh, we've got the kid trapped in the well show. I mean, every year it's Groundhog Day, and every year someone would trot out the fact that kids are becoming criminals due to the fact of game influence, right? Every year you had that thing. So the mainstream media was actually predisposed to not like gamers or gaming, mainly because they didn't understand us. And then you got Gamergate 1, which just fell into their lap, and so they were able to go and attack us because that was really their angle on gaming. And we didn't make it, we didn't help at all, because gamer culture is actually really freaking nasty. Like
pretty foul.
Pardon me?
Pretty foul jokes and stuff.
Oh, but I mean, and if you've got a thin skin, don't join.
Yeah.
But then what happened was the thin skinners joined and went, oh my God, they're calling me the F word and they're misgendering me, and oh my God. And then all hell broke loose. And I mean, we didn't help ourselves because we were too stupid to realize we were falling into a trap. And that's old news. So yeah, there you go.
A gamer, would you say that the kind of humor, as you say, culture, gamer culture, where people are talking smack and stuff, it's a little bit of like the kind of, at least for me as a woman who's encountered it occasionally, it's sort of like other men's spaces where there's really over the top humor and roasting that's being done, but it's in good sport most of the time.
Sometimes it actually is toxic. Or was more. It actually was. I stopped participating in bits and pieces of it because people were just asses. I mean, but then you just go, you bail, right?
Yeah.
Well, that was my choice. I went, I don't like these. I think these people are toxic. Which then, would it have been helpful to just reduce that a little bit? Yeah, absolutely. You can insult people without getting like so utterly juvenile about it. But again, that's the what do you call it? It's the natural selection. It's evolution. But then a bunch of people who really had nothing to do with it, who didn't understand it, decided that they were going to change things because it needed to be changed. But it was the wrong people.
Mm-hmm.
So it became a crazy mess, and the mainstream media sided with the wrong group.
They sided with the woke. Yes.
With the woke, which is what they're still doing to this day. So I decided to go after the woke on my Call Me Chato channel, and then appalling news. To me, there was hard news coming out. Like I'm trying to think of stuff.
Well, I've got something recent pulled up here that everybody
and I decided to resurrect a character, a sort of an ersatz Walter Cronkite. And do the news. So it's the same suit. I'm wearing the same jacket. I do wear a different jacket on usually, folks.
Usually. I'm going to play just a little bit. This is a recent one. This is about Sydney Sweeney's jeans.
This is appalling news, your most trusted source for fake real news.
Yeah, I'm music.
Paul Chato. This is a special extended edition of Appalling News, as we take a deep dive into the most significant news item of the year, perhaps the decade, perhaps the century, the Sydney Sweeney American Eagle jean campaign controversy. Within hours of its start, it exploded across the internet. Here is just a sampling of some of the positive reactions.
Eugenics, racism,
Aryan.
Really, maybe she's selling eugenics.
Xenophobic.
Though this is clearly white supremacist, Aryan race.
Racist.
It is Nazi propaganda.
Fascist weird.
It's literally eugenics.
Racism and blue jeans. Like Nazi propaganda weird. Fascism and eugenics.
That racist.
That is Nazi propaganda.
Looks like not so positive. Clearly, there is a
Nazi positive? Is that what you said?
No. So I mean, to me, I'm having fun editing. I'm an editor. I used to be a professional editor, and And so to me, I'm using every single skill that I have. I've got my comedy skills, my acting skills. I decided to create a character, this Walter Cronkite kind of, and this is the news, so that's going to be blah, blah, blah. And which actually gave me a way to set up jokes differently from my Call Me Chato channel, because I could do things in a very authoritative way. And if you watch my WNBA dildo video that I did, I went to a online a sex toy shop, and I described the names of I repeated the names of real sex toys, the outrageous,
but in character.
So I mean, if I where is this? If I say, oh yeah, so if I I don't hope I don't demonetize you. So in character,
don't.
What?
Like,
okay.
Don't do it. I'm kidding. Go ahead.
Okay, so I would show actually the picture of the device, and I go, so our self-pleasuring tour guide helped us zero in on several possible products. Was it the radioactive reptile? Or how about the 6.5-inch Golden Mesh handmade night ambit glow in the dark? The American bombshell bunker buster would certainly cause a game stoppage. The naked addiction rotating, thrusting, vibrating dildo at the handy remote. Of course, that would have been handy. How about Mr. Hankey's traffic cone anal trainer series?
No, it's just like a newscaster having to read that.
So
I love it.
Doing that straight to me was delicious. And so I get to comment on stupid things like we had a school out in the east coast of Canada that I can't remember. It was some kind of Canada Day or celebration, and you weren't allowed to actually celebrate Canada. You could only celebrate all the other ethnic groups that were in the Nova Scotia area. But some kid came in and decided they were going to celebrate Canada, and they were thrown out of the class.
Oh.
I mean, I don't make this stuff up. It's the stupidest woke, and it's endless. There's just nonstop, endless nonsense out there that
you can comment on.
And I make fun of pride flag chalk sidewalks that leave marks on your loafers. And I mean, is it illegal to actually squeal your tires over a pride sidewalk? Because someone got arrested for
I saw that,
burning their tires on a sidewalk.
Said you're
and then I made a joke about, but aren't we talking about rubbers here?
I love it.
Cheap joke.
It's but it's fun. So you're using comedy to as critique, as an outlet for the times that we find ourselves in.
Yep. So hopefully, I mean, it's my personal, rather than getting angry and protesting, I'm just trying to make things funny for me and for people out there.
Well, I can't recommend your channels enough. So everybody, you can find the links below. Go check them out. I want to switch gears here for a second. When we talked about you coming on, you sent me an interesting video, and you said, "Hey, I have some thoughts on this," and it happens to be something I'm interested in as well. So I'm gonna share this. It's a little YouTube short, and this is about. I think it's, why is everyone doing therapy in public?
With a surprise new album called Swag. And there's one track on the album that's really just a conversation between him and his friend, the comedian Drewski, called Therapy Session, opening up to his friend about what he's been going through. Justin Bieber is among a constellation of other songs, programs, podcasts that are doing therapy out loud, in public, online, for public consumption. The best example is the show Couples Therapy. Regular people, regular couples go to this psychologist.
If I can radically love me, then I can allow Josh to radically love me.
There's a new podcast called Fashion Neuroses with Freud's great-granddaughter.
I find the feeling of being misunderstood very uncomfortable.
Or Jay Shetty's On Purpose, where you might hear Paris Hilton going in depth about her ADHD diagnosis.
It's like having the brain of like a Ferrari with bicycle brakes.
It's the world of entertainment,
A
but
brain of
other people's
bike with a Ferrari brakes, I think is what you mean.
mental strife. I just don't think there's any end to how much intimacy we want with other people. We already know what people are eating at every moment of the day, what they're doing, who they're hanging out with, where they got their clothes. So this is the final frontier of knowing everything about someone's life. It's almost like sports for women. We can't stop watching.
By the way, this commentator is very good.
I wasn't familiar with her, but I agree with what she's saying. I think it's. Do you think it's primarily women who are consuming this kind of stuff online?
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's also primarily women who are delivering it.
Who are delivering it? Yes. So let's talk about it. I don't know where you want to start. There's
you start. You're the pro.
I'm the pro.
I'm just a comedian. I make fun of this stuff.
Well, I find, first of all, the therapy speak, it's everywhere, and it's not just when there's a lot of women who are doing the therapy speak, but they're also combining it with a way of their, like, the affect of their voice. This sort of vocal fry is happening. A lot of them are doing the thing where they do upspeak and they end their sentences with the sound of a question. And I find it really hard to listen to some women. There's an example I have that I can pull up in a second that I sent you right before we started, and I can show you that woman because she does all of this. But they tend to talk like, let me see if I can do it.
She
sort
speaks
of like,
very well. I mean,
everyone lately sort of speaks like this, that like, I have to find my truth, and it might be different than your truth. But do you know what I'm talking about, Paul?
I do. And my favorite thing is when someone turns to lecturing, they do this.
Yes.
With their hand. Like, what does that mean? And I'm just telling you.
My friend Josh Slocum, who hosts this Disaffected podcast, has noticed this. He calls it, I think he calls it henpecking with your hands, where the women are like, and this, and they're making bullet points.
Well, hello, nice to meet you.
Yeah. And there are many things that I would like to get across.
And then the two-handed one.
And there's two.
And they don't realize that they're doing it. And like, in my mind, I'm making fun of them. It's more serious when they do that. Well, I don't think it's a good trend. I think it's just the continuing demonstration that social media is of less and less value.
Mm-hmm.
It reminds me of someone did some kind of research into the effect of grief counselors after some kind of horrific event, like a mass shooting at a school, and found it had absolutely no effect. And every person who was affected by the tragic event, I mean, apart from being killed, because there's no getting back from that. But that was dark. I'm sorry. My brain sometimes goes there. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. The dark humor, I like it. Sometimes I'm just not.
I'll just come back, and I'll apologize to stuff later. But I mean, the thing is, what people found was the only thing that the only solution, the only positive therapeutic solution was having good support like family and time, because everybody required a different amount of time to get over something. And there was no way to actually speed that up through grief counselors. Time was the most important therapeutic.
Time. Yeah, you need time to deal with tragedy. Yes.
Yeah, and everyone has a different scale, and some people never deal with it. So we want this instant fixing, and I just think all this social media self-flagellation is part of this need for like the fast food version of I don't know, psychological therapy.
Yes. There's this, I think there's a part of it that's also sort of religious, in a way where
Hmm.
when I hear people talk about, when I hear them all doing the therapy speak and they start using all the same words about, even in that clip we showed, there was someone talking about, radical love. If I learn to love myself radically, then I can learn to love him radically. And radical love, and it's just this sort of, it sounds like they're part of a congregation that I'm not a member of. Does that make sense? Where it's sort
Yeah,
of,
sure.
and there's a way of speaking and it's got its own lexicon, like the woke have their own lexicon. Obviously, they're Christians have their own lexicon. If you go to church, there's things you're going to learn there that when you're a first timer, you're like, what does this mean? Or I'm still learning what all these different words mean. But there's this therapy speak, like the cult of therapy, where people who go, they have a certain way of speaking. Look, even I do the hands, but at least I'm not doing bird hands. This is a woman thing.
Well, vocabulary is very important, which we've learned. And when you're an educated individual and you've been educated in a very woke university or college environment, then it's almost mandatory. It's the secret handshake, but done in vocabulary.
Mm-hmm.
This is how you tell someone that you're part of the same group, because you're using words that they understand. I learned that back in the day through sociology, where if you didn't use words like Gemeinschaft and Gesellschaft, then you were not part of the secret society, where, that you were part of the sociology
Got
group
you.
that you
Got
knew
you.
about that stuff. And the Sydney Sweeney thing really brought it up, because one of the things I mentioned in the video, and you probably noticed, was how come everyone was using the same words? Like, where did they learn them?
Where did they learn them?
Did someone send out a script and talk about eugenics, Nazism, blah, 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 blah. Why are they using the same words? Why aren't they using their own words to describe what it is that made them uncomfortable about the video? They're not. They're suddenly everybody is repeating the same words, and it's all silly.
It's cult-like. And
cult-like.
You're exactly right. They learn the words. They're in the cult that I used to be in. They learn the words, and then part of you performing your ideology for others is being able to point out those things when there's a new public point of interest or controversy or something, that you can then use those concepts that you've been indoctrinated with, and you can point to it and say, aha, white supremacy, I've found it, it's in this blue jeans ad.
And I think people they glorify and they luxuriate in the words that they have discovered a little bit too much.
Yes, they do. I'm cognizant of that, Paul. Anyway, I'm kidding. That was me using a word that
I love it.
Okay, you like it?
or I see the lens that you're using, Keri.
I see it. I acknowledge it.
And I admit. Yeah.
Okay, I want to show you a lady in this vein. Now, I just was introduced to this last night, and I will admit, as a woman, I was fascinated. So there's something there too. I think, at least anecdotally, I think women are more interested in people's psychology. When there's crazy people online, we'll often go down rabbit holes.
Sure, and this is part of a comedy routine where I did where and before you go into that, I mean, in the most simplistic terms, I say that women are crazy, men are stupid, and men look at women like hobbies. Women are no different. And I go back to the days when we actually had magazines. So if we looked at the magazine rack, we'd see cars, guns and ammo, fishing, Playboy. Well, Playboy magazine was no different from guns and ammo. None. Like, it's a hobby. Women are a hobby. Whereas women had magazines like Self, Me, Cosmo, I could be better, I could be worse, why aren't you better magazine, exercise magazine, things like that. So women, through either it was a self-fulfilling prophecy, or it was the industry that fed on something that existed, or the thing that existed created the industry. That's a different discussion. You can tell me one way or the other, but women were interested in themselves.
Yes.
Men were not until recently. You had the abs magazines and things like that. But back in the day, Men were interested in hobbies, women were interested in themselves. And women did not view men as partners. They viewed them as reclamation projects.
Reclamation projects,
So I got
meaning
to fix this.
fix them up. Yeah.
I've met this great guy, but I need to redo the porch.
Right.
That's how women, and again, I'm exaggerating, but comedians exaggerate. That's
Right.
really our stock
To
and
make a
trade.
point. Yeah.
But that kind of exaggeration is actually very useful. The Frantics, the comedy group I was in, we were invited to do the North American. Did I tell you this story? The psychiatry convention.
No.
Rollo May. So this would be in the 80s. And do you know who Rollo May is? My favorite, one of my favorite authors. What's his book on love? And he was an existential therapist and an American. And I thought, okay, he was someone, his stuff was very accessible for me in terms of his books.
Okay.
And sort of like Bertrand Russell was very accessible for me with regards to philosophy versus Kierkegaard and Nietzsche and things like that, which bored me to tears. And I could never get through them. But so the Frantics played. There was like 1,500 of the, they all played. They all came to Toronto at the Inn on the Park. And the Frantics did the show. We killed. They just loved it. And then later on, I found out one of the reasons that they hired us was because they wanted to examine the fact, how is it that comedians can pick up personality traits and cues within seconds of meeting with someone, whereas most of the people, psychologists and psychiatrists, required decades of book learning to be able to pick up the same cues.
Yes.
Why is it that they need techniques and things like that? Why is it comedians can instinctively figure out this stuff and then come up with little comedy routines around those personality traits? And they actually invited me into one of the seminar rooms to just talk about it. So all these very serious people.
I want to talk about this because comics are great. Well, the best comics, especially the ones who do impersonations and characters,
Sure.
They're great mimics, and they observe a whole host of behaviors and nonverbal body language and all this. So do you want to talk about that a little bit? That's interesting.
And yeah, I think to varying degrees, it's just something that we do naturally, and then we feed it back in an exaggerated way.
Yes.
And that gets a laugh. I used to have a parlor trick, a party trick, where I'd be at a party with, like, let's say 10, 15 people. And then at the very end of the party, I'd go, okay, I'm just going to do each one of you walking into the room, and you got to tell me who I'm imitating.
Oh man.
And I could probably get about 10 out of the 13 people. I could nail them. I could get their body language, walk into the room, and the entire group of people would go, "It's Barry. That was Barry."
You would just pick it up that easily.
Yeah.
Do you have an overlapping interest in some things like true crime? Because
my wife does.
Okay, because that's a lot of, and that's on average, women have more of an interest in true crime than men do, except for white collar crime. Men are more interested in that, and gangs and the mob and stuff. Men are organized crime.
The women want the really gruesome stuff,
right? So I think there's an overlap there sometimes with people who are in comedy are interested in mimicry, and people who can do impersonations who find that fascinating, and then also find true, because in a lot of true crime, at least if you're into watching the interrogations and stuff like that, it's about body language, figuring out.
Crime is also good because, as Woody talks about it, Woody Allen mentioned it. It's you're wanting the, I call it the vector. Is death and taxes is funny. Sex and death are the funniest things that you can play off of, because we're embarrassed about sex, and death is the ultimate bad thing, right?
Yeah.
Woody Allen has this wonderful bit. I think it's in Bananas or Annie Hall, where he's in an art gallery. And of course, art galleries and bookstores were always important because that is highfalutin, right? It's high level. And he was able to make fun of the fact that a bookstore and art galleries are actually important to people. I think it's funny. So he walked up to this skinny girl in a macrame outfit, of the 60s, right? It was every piece of her outfit, skirt, hat, things like that, or macrame. And she's looking at this abstract painting, and Woody Allen asks her, "So, what does the painting mean to you?" And she goes, "Death, destruction, nihilism, the end of humanity." And he said, "What are you doing Saturday?" And she says, "I'm committing suicide." And then he sort of thinks, and he goes, "Are you free Friday?"
Yeah.
So that joke packs so much stuff in there,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
I mean, the man is pathetic.
Yeah.
Like, that he's so desperate to have sex that he's willing to take a suicidal woman.
It's kind of I love when the person telling the joke is the butt of the joke.
Yes.
But dumb people don't get it. That they're the butt of the joke and they get offended. And I'm going to give you the best example of a joke I've made that's like that I can think of, that I was really proud of, but dumb people didn't get. And it was back during the heyday of the of the hashtag Me Too movement.
Right.
And people were coming for a comedian, Al Franken. And they were talking about Al Franken took a picture. Here's a picture of me and Al Franken, and you can't see it, but his hand is a little too close on the small of my back in this picture, you know? Like, oh my gosh, like the stuff they were saying about him was insane. Here, another one's like, here's a picture of Al Franken in a obviously comedy picture on a comedy tour, pretending to touch my boobs while I'm sleeping. It's a joke. Anyway, so people were coming for him. So I have a picture with Al Franken of when we met. And I just shared it and said, here's my picture with Al Franken, hashtag why not me. And I thought that was really funny because the joke is hashtag like, why not? Am I not good enough to molest? You know,
yes.
The joke is, what kind of person would say that?
Right.
I'm the butt of the joke.
Right.
That's clearly, but there were people who were very offended. Like, how dare you mock victims of sexual harassment. I'm like, I'm not the butt of the joke. That joke is me. And that kind of humor, you do. I would like to talk to you more if you want to come on the show again in the future. Cause I want to talk to you more about like how to break down comedy and analyze it and explain it to people. Cause I'm not very good at doing it, but I appreciate you because you are like explaining things like that. I know how in my head, I know what I'm trying to say. I can't get it out.
Well, the easiest way to do that, I'll just leave you a clue there, is you start by writing juxtaposition jokes yourself.
Okay.
So juxtaposition jokes are the easiest jokes to do. It's like Woody Allen. One of Woody Allen's jokes is there life after death, but will there be a beverage? So that's juxtaposition. It's heaven, life, death, and then the use of a word beverage. And so that's also a vocabulary joke, because if you said, will there be a drink, isn't going to be funny. Beverage is funny because it's a funny word. So there's, but
and it's something trivial
stuff. If I'm writing for a CEO, like I used to spruce up the speeches of CEOs, I would write juxtaposition jokes because they're the easiest ones to
get the laugh and to tell.
To get the laugh.
Yeah.
So I'll help you with that.
You sent me something funny about this. So I sent you this woman. Now I wasn't aware of this until yesterday. I was on Chrissy Mayer's channel last night, and my friend Ari Jacob was on there. And Ari, let me just put this up so you guys can see it. Ari's done a whole thread on this woman. She told me about this story. I wasn't aware of it before. And this apparently, I'm not on TikTok. That's why I don't. But on TikTok, this is huge. This woman's videos have millions of views. And it's a series. I think she's done 35 or 40 videos now about how she fell in love with her psychiatrist. And he, quote unquote, kept her for years until she had the strength to walk away. Now, if you watch the whole series of videos.
Have you watched them all?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
I've watched them all. She basically over the course of these videos, she never, she in fact, and she says he never did anything unprofessional. He never crossed boundaries. But then she uses that as an indictment for what he did wrong. She would say he was too smart to be unprofessional. Like when she said she met him in person the first time and she hugged him enthusiastically and she said, "Do you know what he did? He awkwardly barely patted me on the back." Huh? You know, and it's like, she's like, he's too smart. He's so smart. He knew to be professional. Okay, so he's not crossing these boundaries, but yet somehow your obsession with him is all his fault. So you sent me this funny, I said, have you seen this woman? And this is millions of views. The psychiatrist has now been doxxed because of this. He can't make a statement because of HIPAA laws, so he can't even defend himself. No. And you sent me, you texted back and said, he should have dropped her as a patient. Her glasses are too big.
So that's me. It's like, wow, this woman's sick. Her glasses are way too big.
Can we just watch this first one? And
Sure,
I want to get
sure. It's crazy. Okay.
I fell in love with my psychiatrist, and he knew, and he kept me until I had the strength to leave after 4 years. Here it is, part 1. So I decided to go back on ADHD meds after many years of being off of them. I was on them in my early 20s to help me get through college. And then I went off of them because they just weren't, like, the side effects were too much over the benefits. But then in my late 20s, I read this book, Taking Charge of Adult ADHD, and it absolutely changed my life. For my fellow ADHDers, there's so many good things in here. And the biggest thing that I took away was that it's very important for ADHDers to be on meds. So I decided to make an appointment with a psychiatrist. I just Googled psychiatry in the city that I lived in, and I went with the first one that came up, and I got an appointment within a month. And then I booked a 90-minute intake, and I show up to the intake, and this man is my age, and I can't help but notice that he's pretty attractive, this psychiatrist.
Okay.
And then you need to play the last one, which I think you linked me to, where she was talking about not mentioning his name. I only mentioned his first name. Like, yeah, it was the end. Like, I've had it. This is it. I'm done. Or something.
There's been several like that. So she, let me see if I can.
But the woman's got problems.
Yeah.
I do have a big issue that if she's telling the truth, that she mentioned to her psychiatrist that she loved him. I don't know what the protocol is. I'm not a psychiatrist, but that to me would be cause for dismissal. I'd end the sessions and say, "Hey, look, I'm not the right person for you."
Yeah. I do agree that there were enough red flags there that I think freaked him out, even because at some point, if you believe her, which I don't even know how much of what she says I believe, but
there's that too.
Yeah. At a couple of years in, though, she said she found out that even though all of their appointments had been on Zoom and she had never met him in person, she found out that he did see patients in person, and she was like, he lied to me. You know, she viewed it as some kind of betrayal.
Wow.
And so she forced an in-person appointment. And it just occurred to me that maybe he didn't tell you he did in-person appointments because he knew that there were red flags and he didn't want you in the office with him, given that you would keep confessing your love to him. But yeah, that woman is ripe for impersonation, for comedy. And there's something about this, like the therapy speak. At one point, she starts rattling off all these different diagnoses she has and all the different things that he took advantage of because he knew that she has, you know, she calls it weaponized. She said that he has weaponized neutrality, which is, how do you weaponize neutrality?
I don't know if I can tell you this story. Can I mention this story in a way? So it reminds me of something that happened to me. So you're getting all the juicy stuff. here. So it
Okay.
reminds me of a cab ride I had going home at 3 a.m. after I was doing something, working downtown. And where I lived at the time was kind of past the city limits. So we were now pitch dark heading north in the cab. And the cabbie turned to me, and I don't talk to cabbies generally. And he goes, "Do you like women?" I go, "Okay, this is not going to go well." And I went, "Yeah." And he said, I dated this girl that couldn't reach orgasm unless I put the barrel of her gun in her mouth. And I went, well, how do I respond to that? Like, yeah, chicks are crazy. No, I didn't. And then he said, 6 months of that I had. That was it. And I'm almost ready to burst out laughing because she's crazy, obviously, right?
Yes.
But he's willing to put up with it for good sex.
Right.
Right. But then even he has his limits.
And then look at this.
That's what. Thank you. Oh my God. So there, see, that's a joke.
What kind of gun?
That's a joke. I don't know. I can't remember. I don't think he mentioned it to me. But see, that is fantastic. Thank you so much.
That's very funny.
That's
Thank
funny.
you, Fluffy.
So this thing with her reminds me of that joke, that situation.
Yes. Yeah.
And he's going, and then when she said 4 years, that immediately popped that thing in my brain. Like 4 years of that, forget it. I've had it.
Yeah.
So something, I wouldn't put it past her that this is 100% fantasy. Like that, maybe she never even went to a doctor. Obviously she did, and she's made his life hell.
So people found out who he was because she mentioned his first name at some point. And he has an unusual first name. He's Pakistani. People were able to find out who he was. The other thing is that she has a website now where she is a coach. This is because of all this, I think, this therapy culture we're in. And
what?
She's a coach for ADHD and sobriety. She has clients who are now doing video series about her and how they paid her $3,000 and she didn't help them. She's coaching her own clients, this woman. She's also a yoga instructor, and she was doing, and she mentioned the yoga studio. She mentioned in one of these videos, Paul, that she told her yoga students today about her video series that went viral. Okay. And she told them they needed to speak their truth also.
No, we don't.
And so the yoga studio asked her to remove the videos because they were doxxed and she wouldn't. So then her next video was like, I'm no longer a yoga instructor at that.
Wow.
Where do you got it?
Wow.
Wait, here's the one you made. Can I play with this one? This is the one I sent you.
Yes, that's
okay.
That's the one.
This is the one.
What my mental health diagnosis is. I need to address 3 things. 1, people are asking me what my mental health diagnosis is. I do not have BPD. I do not have psychosis. I have ADHD, and I was experiencing extreme limerence with my psychiatrist. Limerence is a normal thing to happen to anyone who is experiencing hot and cold behavior from someone. And it happens more often in people with ADHD because we have dopamine dysregulation and rejection sensitive dysphoria. And guess what?
That's where I just lost it the first time I saw this. She's like, we have dopamine sensitivity and regulation sensitive dysphoria.
And I would have added and self-diagnosis and
yes, we have that. Okay, now here at the end, this part.
That okay. 3. I need to take a moment. Moment taken.
It is so incredibly disturbing to me. The amount of people that are predator protectors in my comments, that are victim blaming me, especially the mental health practitioners in my comments using therapy speak to say that this situation that I was in was my fault or that I was delusional. Check yourself. You're giving me more ammunition to share my story because it just goes to show how absolutely messed up the mental health industry is and how protected people who do this kind of sick psychological manipulation are. So I will continue with my story tomorrow. I will see you all.
Okay.
Wow. Yeah. That's the one you sent me. And I thought, wow, her glasses are way too big.
And her glasses are too big. One final one. I just have
Okay.
to, because it turns out she's woke. Shocker. And she apparently had some fellow woke people, black women though, who were criticizing her because the doctor is a person of color, a POC. Yes. And they are accusing her. And so this video, just take a look at this one.
It's time to talk about the elephant in the room, and that is the racial difference between me and my doctor. I have seen a lot of Black women on this app with the same take, and I need to say that Black women are the most important people on the planet to me, and that
I have a name for this.
What?
This is what I call the left like treating Black people like pets.
Yes. Yes.
This is my pet here. I don't really talk with them. I don't really know them, but those Black people, they're my pets. I keep them in the pen over there. They're quite nice people.
They're the most important people on the planet to me.
Yeah. The white woman syndrome.
Yes. And Mom was just press play just because it gets
She's a
little bit
good-looking
better.
woman.
Yeah, when she took the glasses off, I was like, "Oh, that's what you were hiding. You're very pretty,
she's pretty.
actually."
I have learned so much from Black women about how to be a better person,
How to wash
how
my
to
clothes
show
down
up
at the
better
river,
in the world.
and how to cook chitlins. I could never cook chitlins until I met my black women friend.
They have showed me how to be a better white person.
They are the culture, and I am so grateful for them. Many Black women are seeing my story through the lens that I am a white woman who is taking advantage of my whiteness to wield power over my POC psychiatrist that didn't want me back. And so I am trying to get him fired. And that's okay. I understand why you see it through that lens. I do. As a white person, I do my best to examine my racism every single day. And I will tell you that my psychiatrist boss is his best friend, who is also a POC male. And in that room, I did have white privilege, and he was also my doctor. And he took an oath to protect me, and he did not. I am not here to ruin his career. I am here to speak my truth. Okay, back to my story. So after
So
I'm here to crush him.
Yeah, she holds up a book. I guess it's in a future video, but she ends up holding up a book for white women about how to examine your privilege. Actually, she comes back to this one again, I think, if I recall correctly. And we don't have to watch it, but she says, again, I know about white privilege. Black women have already educated me. Thank you. And basically she holds up this book by the women who do Race to Dinner. Do you know those women?
Yes, they were on the Am I Racist movie.
Yes.
With Walsh.
Yes, he had a dinner with them. Regina I believe Sarah Rao is one of them, and Regina Jackson, and they're crazy. These women are crazy grifters. Their dinners are, you go there as a rich white woman, you pay a lot of money to sit for the privilege of sitting at this table while they yell at you and berate you and call you a racist. And so she holds up a book by them and basically says, "This is the book I read, and this is the book you need to read, fellow white women." So there's a lot of there's a lot to unpack. I feel like there's a lot of comedy.
Fun of that. I made fun of those two under some auspices, under Appalling News. They're such grifters, and the thing is, it's really. Well, I think it was under in the context of our educational system that has completely fallen in love with all of that critical race theory stuff, and all the people who convey it, and the Ibrahim X Kendis, and I lost a friend because he was a senior partner at one of the biggest law firms in Toronto when I found out that Ibrahim Kendi was a guest speaker there, and I said, "Wow, so you brought this black guy in there to flagellate all the fat white guys in your boardroom?"
And what happened?
He's not spoken to me since.
No, but you said the truth, and you said it with humor.
I did. I thought it was funny. So, yep. I just, yeah. Anyways, I have a very difficult time with I don't know what you call it, is hypocrisy. I mean, the goal is to just be human and fair to everybody, and let their individual, whatever it is, it's I don't want to use the MLK, the slogan that everyone throws around,
but it's a great quote. Judge people by how they behave.
Yeah, that's it. But there's no industry in it, and so that's actually part of my routine too, is that I try to follow the money. Is that there's no money in that.
Yeah.
There is no money in ending a problem. Because when I challenge someone who is doing DEI or something like that, I said, okay, so please tell me what your measurements are that indicate what change needs to be done. Why is it that you're implementing DEI? Okay, what is the program? How long is it going to last? What are the final results that you're looking for? Like maybe 60% improvement, 30% improvement. And then what is your wrap-up strategy that it's done?
Yes.
You tell me how many times I've had a response to that.
None, because I've asked a similar question, Paul. That's amazing. I actually asked Destiny this once before I knew who he was at a conference years ago. I was like, so with people on the woke left, they redefine racism, for example.
Sure.
And they say you can't be racist if you're a black person or a person of color. You can only be racist if you're white. Racism equals prejudice plus power. Therefore, it's okay to treat people differently on the basis of race so that we can reach equality. And so I would ask them, let's assume you're right, that okay, I'll use your term, it's not racism. At what measurable end goal will things be equal enough that now it is racism to treat a white person in a negative way because they're white, right? They don't know how to measure it. Like, how do you know when things are equal enough that now suddenly it's racist?
Right.
And then like you said, how do you then unteach it? Like, now that you've taught generations of kids that racism is dependent upon the race of a person, and only certain races can be racist, then how do you roll that back? Put that genie back in the bottle?
You've just created you just wrote a comedy routine where at what point can we get together to the point where you as a black person actually are racist?
Yes.
Correct. That's ultimately that's the goal, right?
Yes.
That's very funny.
Yeah. Oh man, I wish you lived close. We could do sketches.
That's funny. That's a very fun. I gotta keep that in my brain there. Yeah. And the main thing is all of these things, whether it's critical race, gender, their end product is what I call continuity and never endingness.
Yeah.
That's the goal. The goal is perpetuity.
Perpetuity.
That's its goal. It has no other goal.
It's just going to keep destroying. It's going to keep pulling things apart.
Well,
Chaos.
to make money.
Yeah.
To make money, it has to be in perpetuity. It can't be solved. There's no way for a solution to be had, or many, many people would lose billions of dollars in consulting fees.
Yes. Absolutely.
Perpetuity. That's its product. It has no other product. So this woman is, but getting back to our thing here, don't want to derail that stuff. But she is fascinating. But people are finding out that she's a grifter too. Like the people who paid her all those thousands of dollars to have them involved in her therapeutic sessions eventually go, this is not getting me anywhere, right? And then they're complaining. Are they then doing videos about her?
So I haven't seen it yet, but apparently one of her former clients has now done a video series about what it was like to have therapy from her. Of course, she's not a licensed therapist. She's just a coach. You can, if you just call yourself a coach, then you know.
Absolutely. but Jordan Peterson had to go to a struggle session. She doesn't.
Correct. Yeah. Why do you need a license? I guess.
Wow, she is. But she is, I think, the worst case of that one woman who is the FP Free Press person. What is it that? Why do people need to show their underwear in public? Why?
You mentioned earlier that there have been decades of marketing and programming for women, especially about that. That's very narcissistic. Examine yourself, get into yourself, figure out who you are. I would say our modern culture in general is sort of geared towards that. There's this big focus on identity, a huge focus on identity, which is a part of woke. But like, who are you and who are you uniquely? And you need to treat yourself and discover yourself. And, I've seen TikTok videos of women explaining. I saw one a couple weeks ago, the woman who's in her 30s who has kids, and she's like, she's explaining how she's divorcing her husband because even though he's perfect, and she loves him, she just can't be herself, but also she doesn't know who herself is, and she has to discover herself. And this is all therapy speak. You're blowing up your family for therapy. It's searching for yourself and self-discovery, and it's kind of like it's selling narcissism to our whole culture, but especially to women, selling narcissism to women and disguising it as empowerment or feminism or something. I think. You made me think of that when you were talking about women's magazine, sort of being about navel gazing. And now people, it's not enough to stare at your own navel. You're like, with social media, it's like, come stare at my navel with me.
Yeah. And now there's a whole category of men who have been demasculated, which I find extremely disturbing.
Yeah.
At one point I used to make fun of the guys in caves because they're so easy. When I go golfing, my worst nightmare is to get on three other guys who talk nothing but all the golf games that they've had over the last few months and which holes they missed, because I'm not a jock, but I understand where these guys are coming from. And it's very much like the Tim Tooltime Taylor. I mean, I'm afraid, that's the downside to men. The upside to men is that you can put 5 men together into two complete strangers in a cottage and they'll get along. And then they'll become friends for life and never argue about stuff. Or if they argue, they'll beat each other up a bit and then they'll get back to being friends again. There's an advantage in being a dumb guy.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't necessarily think from a psychological, from an evolutionary perspective, the feminization of men is particularly good, especially when we're animals and our number one job is to procreate. Our lizard brain wants us to procreate, and we're doing everything in society possible to actually dissuade parties from getting together to do that.
Yeah, it's with the emasculation of men has come with a lot of, like, a heaping dose of this same sort of narcissism disguised as empowerment being aimed at towards them. tell us about your radical self-love and examine, that whole thing. Yes, there are more men, especially. I think you find it everywhere, but more heavily in the woke left and the man bun kind of guy.
The man bun.
Yeah.
Yep, that's right. And I'm going to say something very, very interesting. For reasons that I can explain anytime that you want, I have more tended towards atheism than religion. I was raised a Christian and then found out I was a Jew when I was 18 and found out most of my relatives died in the Holocaust. It didn't really make me very religious.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But partly because my web business, a lot of it in the United States, almost every single person is very religious. And they all trust me to death. And they're the greatest clients I have. And in fact, ironically, they don't like hiring other Christians because they've actually screwed them doing the sort of in a very evangelical, I'm a fellow Christian, whereas they hire me because I've never screwed anybody, from a business perspective. So they trust me implicitly, and anyway, so that's another story. But I mean, that also shows that religious individuals are not siloed off either. There's this cliched view of someone on the right, someone who's religious, that they're very closed in and cloistered about their worldview, and that's not necessarily the case, right?
There are some, but that's not my experience with most.
Yeah, no, I'm saying that you can. I mean, you're always going to find the edge cases, but so where was I going with this? Damn it, where did I start?
You started with you're not a very religious person yourself, and you found out that you were Jewish, but you work with a lot of Christians.
Yeah, so I am finding more like-minded individuals on the fight for a true equality, where women with certain appendages shouldn't be in girls' change.
Women with appendages.
Women with certain appendages, yes, and or should be in sports and fairness. And I just find the left is anti-fairness.
Yes,
and to me, my comedy comes from searching for fairness, not truth, fairness.
Equal opportunity offender.
Yeah. And so I find more people on the religious side more interested in fairness, even if I disagree with certain things. Where the left are not interested in fairness, they're interested in a nanny state. They want to tell you exactly what it is, how you're going to behave. These are the rules, and if you don't follow them 100%, then you're out.
They're not interested in fairness because their religion is centered around unfairness. I mean, it depends on the unfairness.
I think you're right.
And taking from some and giving to others, and
and you can and there's no fair way to do that.
Yeah. I'm going to read a couple of these comments to you.
Sure. I think it's funny. Because you're a religious person that I've actually, I find more comfort with people of faith.
Oh, well, I have, it's so interesting because I know several we may have talked about this offline. I'm friends with several people who are not believers, who I think, now from a Christian perspective, this may sound cheesy, but I think God is working on them because they're truth pursuers, and God is truth. Actually, he says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. I am truth. And I think that's hard for us to wrap our heads around. Like, what does that mean? He's a being who is truth. But so when I see someone who's like purely pursuing truth, the way I interpret it, and I don't mean for this to sound condescending, is that they're pursuing God, whether they call it that or not.
Yeah.
And so
I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah. And so we might have a lot in common because we're both pursuing truth, and you may not be a believer yet. I'm kidding, Paul. I'm kidding.
They're going to work on me, but I don't even mind that.
But yeah. And a little joke, but seriously, I think I much prefer someone who's honest and open about if they believe or not, than someone who is pretending and claiming the name of God in any kind of faith, like Christianity or even in another faith, saying that if you claim the name of God, if you claim the name of Christ, but you don't actually believe, that's really horrible. And so I would rather talk to a sincere non-believer than someone who's lying and cloaking
Sure,
themselves.
the Elmer Gantries,
Yes.
which is what my clients have found, that they get hoodwinked by Elmer Gantries.
Yeah.
And they found me. Actually, one person prayed to Jesus, found my website, called
There
me
you
up,
go.
and we've been working with her for like 15 years.
There you go. There,
Yeah, how's that?
yeah, how's that? So
So,
Davina had a comment. She said, "Eat, pray, divorce," which is pretty sad. This is this whole kind of therapy, find yourself thing we were talking about. There've been a couple of super chats. Also, I wanted to put up. This one came in. Mario.
oh,
says
$10.
$10.
Thank you,
Thank
Mario.
you. Mario says, "I think it was a two-pronged attack. On the left, it was a find yourself message. On the right, it was a give up everything for your family mindset. For me, both contributed to the decline of modern society."
That's a big discussion.
Yeah. Find yourself on the left for sure. On the right, give up everything for your family.
So, okay, so here's my 2 cents on that.
Mhm.
I think a healthy person is a little bit selfish. And so if they're trying to spend all their time finding themselves, that's too selfish.
Mhm.
If they're dedicating everything to their family, it means they're not selfish enough. My marriage hit it, when things started working well, was I realized that it was a 60-40 split both ways, where at one point I was, I think, offering too much into the relationship, and I realized I needed to be selfish. I needed to have a little bit more time to myself. Ray can have time to herself, and I you accept it. I mean, I don't have a problem with it, but we also love each other enough that we want to like share 60% both ways. So I don't believe in the 50-50 split. That's actually the worst thing. So I think that, to me, that's what I'm getting. The finding yourself is the 100% narcissist.
Yeah.
I don't really care about anyone else. Whereas giving up everything to your family means you're not doing enough for yourself. Sometimes it's good to be selfish.
To put on your mask first before you help others. But also, that makes me think of there are some people who are, this may not have been what you meant, Mario, but there are people who are playing a role of martyr sometimes. Everything. I'm so self-sacrificing, like those kind of people.
Oh, yes.
And it's sort of, speaking of red flags.
Yeah.
Someone who's always talking about like what a martyr and how they do everything. And I'm like, I do not ever accept offers of help from those kind of people. Because it's going to be this whole thing about they're so self-sacrificing and they give 100%. I don't know if that's what you meant, Mari, but I've seen that.
I suffered through that for a period of time. I thought that was the way to gain friends.
It's a little bit narcissistic in itself. It's like a covert narcissism of like, I do everything and I bend over backwards and you don't even appreciate it, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
You don't even appreciate how much I do. And I didn't even want to. I knew someone who would make decisions and choose certain things and then say, and I didn't even want to do that. I just did that to make him happy and like, hold it over his head forever. It's like, well, then why did you do it? Why did you agree to live there or to do, whatever the thing was? And
well, I did suffer through some of that. Because I went through a good chunk of my life being needy. So I actually talked with a psychiatrist about it. And there's kind of two variations of it. One is a narcissistic neediness. And then the other one is just being needy. And I was lucky enough not to be a narcissist, because they're an impenetrable group of people, insufferable. And I actually helped a friend divorce a narcissist. That's another story.
That's scary. Another
because I'm a devious person. That's the other thing you don't know about me. Maybe you don't want to know me too well because I'm extremely devious. So I was needy for a good chunk of time, like maybe even into my 40s. And it wasn't until I started my own business and realized there was just no time for that I broke that spell. But that took an awful long time. And part of my neediness was always lying. And I would not lie about anything big. It was always small things. And it was like the most ridiculous things, like, oh, did you see that movie? And I'd go, oh, yeah, of course I saw that movie. Why did I say that? Like, there's no consequence in saying, no, I didn't see that movie. No one would have thought less of me. But because I was smart and clever, I was able to pick up what the movie was about through the initial conversations that everyone was having about it. So when they said, oh, well, what'd you like about the movie? I would be able to construct something out of thin air. And they go, yeah, me too.
This is an interesting thing you're bringing up. Jordan Peterson, he helped me with a lot of things. But one of the things he helped me with was some of his early videos I saw about, and I think he put this in his 12 rules for life also, which was don't lie, or at least
correct.
He said, or always tell the truth, or at least don't lie.
Right.
And even on the small things like that, like you're mentioning, or things that are maybe we wouldn't think of as lies, but they are, where you're passing off somebody else's opinion as your own. And you're like, I think this about climate change. And it's like, well, do you really think that? Or are you just like, I got to where he helped me to feel really comfortable just saying like, I don't know, or no, instead of, because I became so afraid of doing I didn't want to put somebody else's opinion out there as my own. And I think that's a good thing. We need more of that, where it's like you said, why feel a pressure to say I've heard of that person? I will rack my brain sometimes and say, well, that name sounds familiar, but I don't know why.
Right. And the first thing that got me out of like slowly getting out was I forced myself to stop lying.
Yes. It's the best thing.
Yeah.
See, you're on the path. You just don't know it, Paul. Okay. It's a good path. I'm kidding.
And I kind of figured that out myself. And I love that through a bout of depression. This is my humor. I realized that nobody was willing to be as depressed for me as I was for myself. Hey, folks, come on. You're not feeling as badly for me as I want to feel badly for myself. You're not working hard enough. Get with the program.
No one's gonna, even if you wrote an award-winning play or movie about yourself, like your depression.
Yeah.
And it was celebrated for decades, and still no one would feel for as long as bad about your situation and whatever that situation is as you do.
Yeah. Yeah, you fuckers. Anyway, but that was my sense of humor, finding the irony in my own problem and going, hey, asshole, stop it.
Yeah.
That was my own personal therapy, that I was at least lucky, touch wood, to be able to sort that out. And there's lots of other stories around that, but I'm not needy now at all. And, but that was a very interesting, that came from my parents not trusting anything that I blame my parents. Loud Hungarian Jews.
Let me just thank Andrew Knapp for the $5 super chat. Thank you so much. He says,
thank you, Andrew.
I'm glad we're all done pretending that Destiny was one of the good ones. Same. I think that's when I mentioned Destiny earlier. I used to think he was one of the good ones. And every time I was at a conference with him where he was one of the fellow panelists or something, I just felt like, I'm so glad. And I am glad when people show up from the left, because there aren't that many who show up. But when all of this just gross stuff came out about him, and the way he handled it, made me realize, like, this guy is full of crap.
Wow.
It took me a long time to.
Well, I heard of his name. I heard of the stuff that kind of went by. I decided not to go down that rabbit hole because I didn't want to know anything about him.
It's really gross. Yeah, I would not go down that rabbit hole.
I'm sorry, but I have no skeletons in my closet.
I want to thank you for the generous super chat. Legalize adulthood for $50. Woohoo! Says, I'm in love with myself. Hey, how'd you do that?
It's part of the Mac OS.
What is OS? Okay. What's that gonna do? What? Mine doesn't work.
I'll talk to you. Are you on Mac
Okay.
OS?
I think so. Yeah, I'm on a Mac.
Yeah, I can show you how to turn that on.
Legalize adulthood for $50 says I'm in love with myself when I use social media to show everyone how awesome I am. Action.
Yeah.
Hail Keri. Yes, that's a good summary of the 50-part series anyway of the woman who fell in love with her
Well,
psychiatrist.
there's everything about social media that's
It's
horrible. I wrote a joke many years ago. Was I think I'm going to do something about climate change. I'm going to press the thumbs up on Facebook. Oh, I'm done.
I'm gonna like the post about it.
That's
Greta,
it.
Greta Thunberg's post. I liked it.
That's it. I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted liking posts, everyone. I can't deal with the pressure anymore. Yes.
Paul, someone yesterday who I think it's a false shepherd, posted about how when he spends time on X, he and the other men on X, that they are at war and that women need to make them sandwiches for when they get home from war. Speaking of, and he was being serious. Speaking of hitting like on something is you doing something. I just thought that was so funny. I'm like, it's not that you're not doing anything. You are cultural commentary, what have you, and you're interacting. You're in the public space, but please don't call it war.
Wow.
I'm out at war. Make me a sandwich. You're on Twitter, dude.
That is funny. Sorry, dear, I can't come up. I'm arguing over the Gaza war. Can you make me some food?
I'm at war about war.
I'm at war. That's right. That's right.
Why are you not on social media? I think
was
that's
kicked
smart.
off of X.
You were.
I said I was in the heated discussion and I left a really good ribald attack on someone, which I thought was it was over the edge. I if you base it on the rules of engagement, I deserved it.
You deserved it.
I got it was a really good comment though. Like it was dagger, but that's fine. I was spending way too much time on X. I was absolutely addicted to it.
So the only place you can find Paul is below. I've got links to both of his channels, and you should go and check them out.
Yep.
Call me Chato and Appalling News. I've got to think a few more people, and then we have to wrap up because you and I both have to meetings. So Randy Wallen, thanks for the $5, and thanks for being here at the house concert. He says, hey, very close to 2 p.m. Nice. House concert was great. It was great to see you. And I'm going to talk more about the house concert in a future episode. Your Average Patriot Nerd for $2. Thank you, sir.
Wow. Yes. So he knows me from the Frantics. That's a Frantics reference. Dr. Demento.
Paul giving a boot to the head to these peeps. Oh, there you go. Look at that. Your Average Patriot Nerd. Andrew Knapp, who became a member. Thank you so much. I know you've been a member before. I recognize you, Andrew. This I just had to highlight because I agree. Bungalow Logic says people who use the word literally when a thing literally is not.
I like that. Yes, it's true.
That's one of my husband's biggest pet peeves. He can't stand the word.
I can't stand it when people don't pronounce the G in recognize.
Recognize.
They go recognize.
Oh, they do?
Yeah. Listen, now you're going to hear it all the time. Well, I recognize that. No, there's a G in there. Recognize.
Recognize.
You'll hear it.
Maybe I drop it. In South Carolina, we drop a lot of consonants like the TH on South Carolina.
You don't have a South Carolina accent there. I don't hear it.
Oh, I can put it right back on if you need me to. I went to a science and math school, Paul. I was embarrassed. I had to get rid of it. I had one of the most hick accents at the whole school.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah, but it'll come back easily.
And every time I visited my Texas client, I come back talking like this. My wife was thinking, well, can you just stop talking like this? I can't. I went to Texas and now this is how I'm talking.
It's fun. There's a comedian out of North Carolina. Oh, I got to send you this lady. You would love her. She's a great mimic.
Okay.
Anyway, she does a character who works at the Dollar General. Do you have Dollar Generals where you are?
The Dollar General. Yes, I've driven to South Carolina. I have a friend in Hilton Head. So.
Okay, right on. And also, I'm going to send you her. She's so funny. Okay. Andrew Knapp for $5 says, "Want to know the fastest way to make an Italian stop talking? Make them sit on their hands."
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Or a woman.
Then there's the. Oh, sorry, Paul. Can Canada what? Paul, can Canada reverse its wokeness? I don't know. We've always been a woke country, and it's been woke light, but things are quite horrible right now. I that's why I'm doing my humor
to deal with it.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's again we didn't realize just how far wokeism is like a boiling frog. That at its core it has nice ideas. Like why would you disagree with the basic tenets? Because they're fair and they sound good, but you know, you want equality, not equity. I mean, there's and DEI absolutely is not DEI because it doesn't include like white people, Asians, or Jews. So how is it DEI? You know?
It's just about people. I think sometimes it's as simple as, can people become more discerning in general about everything, and that would help with including wokeness. That would help with it because it sells itself as something it's not. Like that's what you're saying. It sounds good if you're not a very discerning person, which I didn't used to be. I fell for it. It's like, oh, this is great.
Because you've rules. You got rules to follow, and if you don't follow them 100%, that's the catechism. And then you're out. And I just don't believe in that. And I believe as best as I possibly can try to not shoot the messenger. Even if I hate that person, if the thing that they say is a basic truth of mine, then I'm going to agree with them. And you'll get hurt doing that.
This is how comedy can help too, don't you think, Paul? Because the more you understand comedy and understanding human behavior, and the way you said, comics are really good students of human behavior, then the more discerning you become, because presumably
but you also want to be loved, so you end up playing to the audience that you want to. And I don't want to belabor this show because it's long enough already, although you are wonderful. You're maybe one of my new favorite people online.
You're one of my new favorite people, so thank you.
I had an argument during the Trump first session, a left-wing comic, very funny, but she was doing the usual thing that everyone fell into, where describe something stupid Trump did, and then your punchline is an expletive.
And that's it.
And that was it. And Samantha Bee was doing that, where, Trump did something seemingly outrageous. That's what he does. He does outrageous things. Your audience was laughing all the way through the mere description. There's no jokes in that. There's no punchlines. It's just the description of what someone did, and then you ended with an expletive. And I told her, I said, a real comedian would go into a anti-Trump room, do pro-Trump material, and get everybody laughing.
Yes.
That's what a real comedian would do, because they love their craft. And we haven't really spoken since. But
it's true.
But to me, I'm a purist. That's my problem, is that I mean, if Elizabeth Warren, bless her heart, says something I agree with, then I'll agree with it. I mean, of course, I haven't heard anything so far, but I'm waiting for it.
You're waiting.
See, there's a joke. See, I got a joke in there. Anyways, listen, thank you for having me on. We got it. I took you on.
You got to go.
I didn't mean to. No. I mean, I'm in no hurry. Okay. I've got pushed my meeting until 5:30. But
okay. I thought it was right now.
But I mean, we've given people an hour and a half of brilliant commentary. Let's leave them wanting more.
Let's do that. I've got one final person to thank, and that is Jay Peterson, I know who this is.
Yeah.
Thank you for the $5 super chat. It says, sounds like this woman who fell in love with her therapist was dealing with major transference. And yes, if you guys are interested in that crazy TikTok series, she talks about transference at some point. So, Paul, thank you for being here. I hope we get to hang out again. Can you tell people, I know we mentioned it already, but just remind people where they can find you.
So you can find me on Call Me Chato on YouTube, and on the other other YouTube channel is Appalling News, which is APAULING. Get it, Pauling? It's just never ending. People tell my wife, it must be wonderful living with a comedian, and she goes, oh yeah, it's great.
It's wonderful.
Yeah, it's wonderful. It's really, really fantastic. I mentioned a line to my wife not too long ago where I said, I told my wife a joke and she laughed, and I made the mistake of thinking she wanted to hear more. And even she laughed at that. That she thought was funny. And then Appalling News, you can find me there. So that's it. And hopefully we can do this again.
I would love to. I had so much fun with you. I hope you have a wonderful day. Thanks for being here. And I'll see you guys. I'll see you later, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.